Okay, we're back, and in just a few minutes, we're going to have two guests on the phone, Bob McIlvain and Tony, how do you say his last name?
Sam Bodie.
Sam Bodie. They're going to call in from buildingwhat.org. If you want to go right now onto buildingwhat.org, you can find out what it is that they're talking about. Pete, you want to give the basic information to everybody?
Well, I can set this up by saying I had a conversation with my mother 2 days ago when I was talking to her, saying, oh, we're getting these guests on. And she said, Pete, you got to let go, right? I grew up when there was the JFK assassination and everyone was up in arms and thinks there's a conspiracy. Peter, sometimes there just isn't a conspiracy and people, look for answers when there's nothing there. And I turned to my mom and I said, hey, Mom, how many buildings collapsed on September 11th? And she goes, two. Everyone knows that. I said, no, it was three.
Well, and I remember
Right?
being on The View all
And you
those
said the
years
same
ago,
thing.
and I said to Elizabeth, do you know how many buildings fell that day at free fall speed into their own footprint? And she said two, and I said, no, three. There was another building that was not hit by a plane. It was Building 7 and World Trade Center 7, and it fell at 5:20 p.m. on September 11th. And the Building What campaign is an effort led by 9/11 family members to raise awareness of the destruction of World Trade Center Building 7 and shift public opinion so that the New York City Council will be inspired to open an independent investigation into how this building, which housed the city's emergency operations center, was destroyed at 5:20 p.m. on September 11th. The Building What TV ad begins airing on November 2nd, Election Day 2010, and will run through the 15th. The campaign is co-sponsored by several groups led by the New York City Coalition for Accountability Now, which is an organization of 9/11 family members, first responders, and survivors, and by Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth, an organization of 1,347 verified architectural engineering professionals who have put their professional reputations on the line to publicly challenge the official report on Building 7's destruction.
Yeah, because it's a question that needs to be asked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Uh, how can you say that the building collapsed on itself when it fell at free fall speed?
And explain what free fall speed is.
Free fall speed means that there was no resistance. Like if you dropped a coin from the top of the building at the same time that the building collapsed,
Right.
the coin in the building would have hit at the same time.
And what could cause a building to fall at free fall speed into its own footprint?
Tony's gonna be able to speak more on that,
Mm-hmm.
the physics side of it. But the simple answer is there was no resistance from the support structure, so the support structure had to have been removed.
I will tell you 7 facts about Building 7. This is from their website. Number 1, if fire caused Building 7 to collapse, it would be the first ever fire-induced collapse of a steel frame high-rise in the history of the world. Number 2, Building 7 collapse was not mentioned at all in the 9/11 Commission report.
Wow.
Number 3, according to a poll in 2006, 43% of Americans do not even know about Building 7. Number 4, it took the federal government 7 years to conduct an investigation and issue a report for Building 7. Number 5, 1,340 architects and engineers have signed a petition calling for a new investigation that would include a full inquiry into the possibility of the use of explosives for the collapse of Building 7. Number 6, numerous witnesses say the possibility of demolishing Building 7 was widely discussed by emergency personnel at the scene and advocated by the building's owner. Number 7, Building 7 housed several intelligence and law enforcement agencies and the New York City Office of Emergency Management and Emergency Operations Center, more commonly known as Giuliani's bunker.
I've got the full list of who was in the building.
Okay.
Salmon Smith Barney, IRS Regional Counsel, U.S. Secret Service, CIA, I'm skipping the other banks and whatnot, but the SEC was there and the Mayor's Office of Emergency Management.
Why this is such a hard thing for people to talk about, or, is because then it leads you to draw conclusions elsewhere, right? Which
Yeah.
no one, I don't think, is saying they have the answers to this. Nobody is saying, I know why or who did this or how it happened. All that some Americans are doing is saying, we question the official story. We would like another investigation into the largest crime ever committed on American soil.
Yeah.
We want another investigation. It's not as though someone is saying, we know why, who did this and why, and here are the guilty parties, and this is how they did it.
Yeah.
All we're saying is it defies the laws of physics, and that in the 9/11 Commission report, Building 7 is not mentioned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and things are swept under the table, right? Like they say in the report on Building 7 that, it collapsed in on itself and the steel structures failed. But then they also say, they acknowledge that it fell at free fall speed. That means that it could not have collapsed in on itself, hitting, that it could not have fallen the way they said it fell.
Right.
So that's a direct inaccuracy in the report.
Okay, so on the phone now is Bob. We're waiting for Tom to come on
Tony.
the phone. I'm sorry, Tony. But we have Bob McIlvaine. Hello, Bob.
Hi, Rosie. How are you?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
All right.
I saw you on the Geraldo show a few days ago, and I thought I would be interested in having you on my radio program to tell me a little bit more about your son.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, Bobby was 26 years old, and it's taken years to be able to, talk about it. But
I'm sure.
He had just started working for Merrill Lynch, like 2 months. He was in public relations, and he was there. Well, he graduated Princeton in 1993.
He graduated Princeton.
Yes.
Wow.
And he was just a mind-boggling kid. And I'll tell you, if you ever met him, you would have no idea he went to Princeton, because you'd sit there and he'd talk about you the whole time, because that's the type of person he was. And but anyway, he from Princeton, he went immediately up to New York and was in public relations, worked for a couple book companies. And then when he was with Burson Marsalis, his only job was Merrill Lynch in public relations, and Merrill Lynch liked him so much they asked him to come over, and they were going to sponsor him to get his go to either Penn or Harvard to get his business degree. And so he was hired as assistant vice president of media relations. So at the time of 9/11, of course, Merrill Lynch is across the street from the North Tower.
Right.
Right across from West Street, so West and Vesey. And he's supposed to come to work every day at 9 o'clock. Well, on that day, Merrill Lynch had a seminar on the 106th floor.
Of Tower 2?
Of Tower 1.
Tower 1.
Okay, and he lived up on 66 between 1st and 2nd, and he took the subway from Hunter College, which is at 68th Street, and took it down all the way down. And the last stop there for him would be at Fulton Street. So it's taken me years to get to this point, and this is very important to the entire story, so I'm just not talking about him. He got off at Fulton Street. Whether or not he gets I don't know if he got I haven't investigated that much, whether he got a donut and a cup of coffee or whatever. But again, he's supposed to be in Merrill Lynch at 9. So he never showed up. And of course, after 9/11, we called, everyone called him after the first plane hit, and everyone was calling him. No one got an answer. So, because no one was that worried, because he did work there. So over the years, this is my own investigation. We immediately went up to New York City after 9/11. We went up on the 12th. My son and I, and then my wife came later that day. And, of course, like everyone else, I remember walking around with Cantor Fitzgerald people who were just going from hospital to hospital, triage center to triage center, and there just was no bodies anywhere.
Yes.
You just couldn't get any reports.
Right.
And anyway, so we had Bobby's one of his best friends. His father worked in the Justice Department, so they had detectives out looking for him and so forth and so on. And then Thursday that week, we got a call, and this is the tough part.
It's okay, sir. You take as long as you need. I understand.
No, it's I've really worked hard on this, but it's still tough. But so we go down to Canal Street. That was the command center, and we found out he was dead on arrival. So we got down there, and again, to make a long story short, we did get his body, and he was one of the first 10 found. And we there was a Sergeant Trelesco. She was just an angel that day, and that for all the time we were there, we were able to she got police cars for us. We had to get dental records up at around where his dentist was, up in around 66th Street, and we took it to the morgue on Friday morning, and we were able to take his body home that day. Now, of course, if anyone listening, if you ever lost a child, I did. I'm not speaking for my wife, but it goes through your mind. Did your child suffer?
Yes.
I mean, that's just, you want to know exactly what happened. Did he die instantly? Did he have to suffer? And, of course, at first, the possibility existed. He was on the 106th floor, so then you're thinking, did he jump? And they're tough things to think about.
Sure.
And but anyway, I ruled out the fact that he jumped, but I couldn't figure out what happened because his body was found immediately. Well, finally, after 4 years, I ran into the doctor who examined him, and we had a meeting. And he advised me not to look at the pictures, but I didn't do that. But he had outlines. He went over every inch of the body and described all the injuries to me. And from that, and he didn't have, and this is important to the story, he had postmortem burns. And the burns were, as the doctor said to me, it's like he just got back from Miami and stayed 3 days out in the sun. So they weren't, severe burns. They were just like, burns or like sunburn. And the body, what he described to me, and of course the outline I've seen, he took a full brunt of something in the chest and in the face.
He took a full what, sir?
He just took a blast. It seemed like a blast to the chest and the face. His chest was full of glass, and his face was just wiped out.
So this could not have happened from him jumping?
No, obviously he didn't jump. So what my final theory is, now, of course, I've talked to so many, especially from people from Ladder 10, which was right across the street from the South Tower, okay, on Liberty Street. And I've talked to firemen that, of course, as soon as the plane crashed in the North Tower, they came running down and came into the lobby. And the lobby was blown out. So and that's theory, I'm 99% right, because I haven't found the person